It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Hi, Nick.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Welcome to the Jack and Nick Horror Show. Next week,
This evening.
we are this time capsule. We are doing a show, and within the show, we are doing movie of the week, which is what is it, Nick? This week
We're doing Deathgasm, for the love of God.
we're doing
Deathgasm.
Deathgasm. It's a tongue twister. It sounds like I might have had a few, but I haven't. And we are also going to put together a playlist of sorts from people's favorite songs from horror movies.
Right. This week we've been asking our fans on Twitter and Facebook, what's up? Come up with your favorite horror song. Whatever it is, we're going to make a playlist. I'm going to put it on Spotify. We can go and mess around with it. It'll be a collaborative playlist. So if you missed out on putting your song in, you can go put it in. I'll tell you more about that later in the show. Please, if you found this show and you enjoy it, subscribe wherever you found it, like it, share it with your friends, because if you don't subscribe, like, and share the show, we're dead. Dead.
Yep, there's a dog that barked and he agrees, so we will die. All right. On with the show.
Great signs. Okay. Deathgasm is a brand new movie from New Zealand. It's a horror comedy where a bunch of misfit teens, they're metalheads, they start a metal band, they want to play the most badass song ever. They stumble upon an ancient scripture music of sorts called the Black Hymn, and when they play it, it calls forth demons. And then they fight the demons, and it gets bloody and gory and crazy. That's honestly the best synopsis of this movie you'll ever hear, because it's completely accurate. On IMDb, this movie has a 6.6 rating. That's like a crime against humanity. I'll tell you why.
Please.
Want to hear why?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do.
All right, because I love this movie. I love it so bad it hurts. Now, granted, I do like heavy metal. I once hosted a podcast called the Devil Horns Podcast. It's still out there someplace. You can go find it and see if I actually have metal cred or not. Most people who listen to the show said I didn't. Actually, that's not true. It was just one guy over and over again. And he didn't like any of us. Anyway, this movie captures so much of like the ridiculousness of heavy metal subculture in a way that actually appreciates the art and theatrics of heavy metal and understands it. And that's kind of wonderful. I think that the movie, though, is funny enough and crazy enough that anybody can watch it. You don't have to know about heavy metal to enjoy it. It's bloody and gory and funny as hell, and I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. Jack, how did you feel about Deathgasm?
I felt Deathgasm with my hands because I wanted to make love to it while I was watching it. I was expecting it to be fun judging from the trailer that I saw a while back, and then it was one of those that you see so many trailers these days that you just go, okay, that looks like a lot of fun, and then you totally forget about it the following week because you just saw like maybe 20 new trailers. When I put it on, I got it through iTunes, and I was really into it at first, and I was like, I really hope that this kind of picks up. It didn't suck. It actually moves at a very fast pace. It almost felt like Scott Pilgrim sort of kinetic energy to it. And at times I was like, well, this kind of feels like they're kind of in the shadow of Edgar Wright. But then it like goes into a territory that would be almost, I would say, on par. I would say that the movie is very very energetic, and it feels very old school but also new school, and it goes in so many fun, crazy directions. If I had one little issue about it, it would be like just a small little joke that kind of doesn't work for me, but it's so minor for the rest of the amazingness that you see in this that I mean there are so many horror movies that don't go this route. Like, this thing actually revels in the craziness that happens, and there are unpredictable moments that are in this movie, and it's just so much fun. And it felt like I was rewatching Evil Dead 2 at times, and I mean, even the we'll get into it, but there are some, let's say, demons that are in this that feel really scary, and they're threatening. So that's something that you really don't get too much these days. So, but Nick, elaborate some more. Give the people some love here.
All right. I mean, we're not going to spoil what happens in the movie.
Right.
What the information that we are going to give you is maybe tell you about bits and parts, but we won't spoil the ending or anything. So the demons. Let's talk about them. When people in this movie get possessed by demons, what happens? Well, let's talk about the plot actually a little. So this band of misfits gets together, and in order to make a good band, they want to play some forbidden music, which they find in an abandoned house that they go to. And it's just this ancient piece of paper with a bunch of chords written on it. And they try to play it, and basically everyone within earshot of their loud garage studio gets possessed by demons.
Yeah, where they like lose their eyes and start bleeding from their eyes, like
Right.
a la Fauci, and it's beautiful.
I mean, they look like they kind of look like Deadites, except different. I mean, really, a lot of this, you can compare this directly to a movie like, Dead Alive.
I would say Dead Alive, Demons, Evil Dead.
That's my exact list that I was just about to read. I did the Demons,
Wow.
Evil Dead. But I mean, it's all really gross and really weird and campy when it comes to the horror, that is,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wonderful. Wonderful. It's like an 80s movie, and you just never see stuff like that in a way that's done right in movies nowadays. Because like in a lot of movies nowadays, they'll have effects that don't even look as good as these. They'll try and pass off their creatures as something scary that you should feel threatened by, and it's just kind of silly. Whereas like treating it with a little bit more of a tongue-in-cheek campiness is the more appropriate tone to take with creatures like this, I think, and it makes it a lot more fun in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish every movie could just be as much fun as this. It's, I also have in my notes here that there's a lot of snappy editing and quirky humor like that in Edgar Wright movies. Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim. And which a lot of people think that they're aping these days in their own movies, and a lot of people don't do it right. And for you to say that it's on par with an Edgar Wright movie, I absolutely agree. I think that this is very, very similar to that, and probably better than some of his. Maybe, I don't know. That's a stretch. But
Yeah, it is a stretch.
Love this movie a lot.
Yeah, it is a stretch, but I just felt so much joy watching this movie that I really don't feel that much. Like, there are movies that I watch and I enjoy a hell of a lot, and, that's about as far as it goes. And then this one here, I was, like, smiling from ear to ear throughout, it's...
I mean, I don't even know, like, there's no point in this movie at all where I was like, oh, that effect looked really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
No point when I was like, oh, why'd they use CGI there? The feelings that you feel when you watch every other horror movie out there, where you're just taken out by something that happened in the movie. I didn't have that happen to me once, whether it was an axe through the head or like finding a dead body that's been mutilated. Nothing in this movie threw me off and made me go, that looks totally stupid.
Right.
I mean, I guess from a design standpoint, everything about this movie is pretty much close to perfect. I do want to kind of talk about the heavy metal aspects of the movie too.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about anything else about design or the
No,
plot?
man, because
No?
with that I was about to mention that I want the listeners to know that this is not necessarily a review, and we can't. The movie has some really great comical moments to it, really great gory moments to it.
Right, and I don't want to spoil all that by laying it out.
Correct. If we say what happens, it's really going to ruin the experience for you, and it's good to just go into this movie cold. Don't even watch the trailer. Just watch it, rent it, buy it, whatever you have to do.
Right. I mean, like it's got over the top ridiculous horror stuff. People using weed whackers and chainsaws as weapons. I mean, this is like everything that you want horror movies to be. Every other movie that doesn't go to the levels that this movie does, you kind of want it to. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is, I mean, it's really wonderful in a lot of respects. Before I bring up some of the heavy metal stuff in this movie, what didn't you like about it? What was the thing that bothered you?
I can't say necessarily, except it was the we'll just say the thing with the record. I thought it was kind of like,
yeah. You mean the ending?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We won't talk about the ending because I mean that would spoil the movie.
Correct.
But and there was an after credits scene too, also.
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
But that's okay, and there's a reason for that too, and I'll get to it in a minute. You'll see.
In my opinion, it's kind of like, and I'll compare it to something else. Like, let's say that you just had a great sex session, and afterwards, you were like, "That was great. Do you want to play Parcheesi?"
Parcheesi's wonderful. Actually, I have no idea how to play Parcheesi, but
I don't either.
I don't think anyone actually does.
I don't think anybody ever won it.
Right, Italians apparently from the name. Anyway, so with heavy metal in this movie, the main character is kind of this dorky guy. He gets bullied by his adoptive family, who's a bunch of straight up Christian people. He gets bullied at school because his friends all want to play Dungeons and Dragons, and because he likes metal, and he falls in love with this cheerleader type girl. I mean, the plot is really simple. Everything I'm saying is probably stuff you've heard before, and you're like, well, how can this be so good? Just follow me down this road, all right? There's a scene when he's talking to the girl that he wants about metal, and she's just like, why are you interested in that stuff? I mean, it's just people screaming and all that stuff. But this is the part that showed so much authenticity to me that stereotypical metal fans don't have. His answer to why does he listen to metal is, when your life sucks, you put on metal and it's okay because there's somebody else on the other side of that tape, that record, that CD, somebody else that understands the rage and frustration and misery you're feeling, and it makes it okay. And that is like a depth of character and a reality to it. I mean, you could look at that and say that's why we like horror movies. You could look at that and say, like, that's why we like anything, is because, whatever type of art you're into that's subversive or counterculture is you like it because somebody else understands the way you felt. Mm-hmm. When he said that, I had flashbacks to like high school. And I even asked my wife as we watched, I was like, do you remember your Metallica days now when you hear that? And she was like, yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking, was like, being a teenager and listening to that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, it just goes against the archetype of the metalhead character that we see in so many movies. That's just like some guy who yells "yeah" a lot and makes devil horns for no reason, and he's got on like a t-shirt that maybe it says, I don't know, the most, like, it'll be like a Megadeth t-shirt, when it's like that's just scraping the surface of what is metal these days. Anyway, you know what I mean? Especially like the movie that came out last year, or maybe the year before, I forget when it was, but Knights of Badassdom had exactly the type of horrible metal stereotype characters that I'm talking about, that are just like guys who play in a band and, had no real connection to metal at all. And the soundtrack to that movie is just kind of crap. And I mean, they made the soundtrack for that movie thinking it was going to be some sort of cool metal, and it's just not at all. It's just generic. This is what I think metal sounds like metal, you know?
Right.
And that bothers the shit out of me as somebody who really likes it. It's like when you watch a movie and you see something with a horror fan in it, and they're like talking about how great Jaws was or something. You know what I mean? or like quoting Scream for no reason. In fact, Scream characters might be fitting that bill. Scream 4 at least. You know what I mean, though? That type of character that's like a caricature of what you actually like. In this movie, the kids who like metal felt very real.
Edit.
Little silly references in here. There's one that I'm going to mention. They try and film a music video, and you can watch this online on YouTube. It's a video that is like sort of referencing the video made by the band Immortal called, I have to look it up because I forgot it, Curse of the Winter Moon. It's got, you may have even seen this video because it's like a terrible, goofy ass black metal, we filmed it out in the woods video, okay? And it's got like 4 or 5 million views just because people go and laugh at it because it's goofy. And part of the love of this type of metal, like the metal, a lot of the metal that's referenced in this movie, I mean mostly black metal and death metal, a lot of it is ironic love for it. Like, because it's so silly and so theatrical, like when they're wearing corpse paint in this movie, corpse paint being the face paint, if you're unfamiliar with it. It's you like that type of stuff because it's funny, you know? Like, when you talk about people, when you talk to people about like Merciful Fate, or King Diamond, if you're not familiar with this, just go look it up on YouTube and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just go type in King Diamond, okay? And it's like, what I like from King Diamond is like ridiculous falsetto singing and theatrics, and the going from falsetto like way up here to growling like a monster and not really sounding like a monster in the next sentence. It's hilarious.
The original vocal fry, yes.
You have to enjoy it for its like theatrical stupidity on some levels, and it's just wonderful. And this movie really embraces a lot of that side of metal, and that almost covers everything I absolutely love about this movie. I have a few more things I'd like to mention. I do have some things, but I'm trying to pick out against like spoilers and stuff. I'm trying not to spoiler stuff, but I'd like to talk about some of my favorite shots in this movie. Basically, any shot where someone gets hit in the head with an axe or a power tool, a chainsaw, all the chainsaw violence, all wonderful, all gory, all delicious.
There's one weapon we can't mention, but we can allude to it. Yeah. That it's... And it could be, and you know, and the way it's the slow motion metal thing. This is like the worst. It's not really a review. Again, no, where they find these weapons and then they use them, and it's in slow motion to a metal song. Yeah.
Oh, and all the music in the movie is actual music, which is nice, instead of like an attempt at copying what metal sounds like, which is what a lot of movies do when they have characters like this. This is all at least, you know, real shit. Not the type of metal that I'm particularly into. I'm not really into death metal or black metal, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed it in this movie nonetheless. And
to anybody that might be interested in Deathgasm, but you're afraid of the New Zealand aspect of it, and for those that don't know, Nick knows that I'm a huge fan of like Aussie movies and Kiwi exploitation, right? And the knowing when you watch this type of film and you don't even realize or recognize the accent after like the 30-minute mark.
Right.
Like you don't. You really don't. Like, it feels like a movie that is set in the States. It really does. And even if it doesn't feel like it's set in the States, you can identify with the characters, because the characters in this, like Nick was just saying, are very strong too. And you actually care if they might get hurt or killed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually didn't want any of the main characters to die.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to say that about a horror movie, after I've seen thousands of horror movies, that's unheard of.
Right.
I can't even think of another movie where I was like, no, don't let anyone die. Because I wanted them to be able to play at the end in their band. Now, Jack, I have one last point to make about this movie. Do you have anything else you want to bring up before I bring up the most mind-blowing piece of this movie?
No. No.
I told you earlier that I had been hiding something from you. This is not something I said on the podcast.
Right.
I was talking to Jack earlier, and I told him that I was hiding something from him all week because I wanted to surprise him with it on the show.
Okay.
There's, on IMDb, one of the rumors about this movie. I didn't read them all, but I only saw this one, and I was like, oh my God. There's one that says that the movie was meticulously edited so that it matches up exactly with Iron Maiden's Live After Death album. This is their live album from the mid-'80s.
Wow. So
I rewatched this movie several times because of this. It lines up exactly, so long as you hit play on both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the parts in the movie where like something is sped up for no reason or, in slow-mo makes perfect sense. It is the greatest fucking metal rock opera you will ever see. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, my God, it is perfectly edited to match up to this album, and it's a live album. And if you know Iron Maiden, like pretty much all their good songs came pre-1990 as it is. So, at the beginning it has like 2 minutes to midnight. Aces High plays over the opening credits. I knew it synced up properly right away because right when a guitar solo starts, it shows like a melting face in the opening animation. And I was like, oh my God, it's working. So later on, if you're not going to try it for the whole movie, just go on YouTube, okay, and bring up, just type in Live After Death, and the Iron Maiden album, the full album will be there. Go to the 50-minute mark or 51-minute mark around there, right when Hallowed Be Thy Name starts, and sync it up to the 50-minute mark in the movie where the two main characters are driving in a car. Just watch it from there to the end. It is amazing. Like there's a big zombie fight, the one that Jack was trying to reference with the slow-mo, with the phallic tools and such, and the garden tools and everything else, and it links up to the songs exactly. And so much so that like when they're hitting high notes and stuff, like crazy stuff is happening when Bruce Dickinson is going like, yeah! There will be like someone getting an axe in the head. During like a drum solo, there's like guts falling out of a demon's stomach. Oh my God, they synced up the kills to the cheers of the crowd at the heroic moments in the movie. Bruce Dickinson will be like, "Scream for me, Long Beach, California," and the crowd will scream as like a demon is getting a chainsaw into their butt. This is glorious. This movie would make an awesome bootleg if you just took the Iron Maiden album and threw it on the movie. Like, it is amazing. And I know it's true because I wrote about it on Twitter this week, which I guess Jack didn't see because he didn't mention it to me. And the director actually responded. And just wrote to somebody, watch it again with Iron Maiden's Live After Death because it syncs up exactly. And the director wrote to my tweet, word.
He wrote word.
That was it.
That is just absolutely wonderful.
I've never seen a movie sync up entirely to an album like that, and it's not like I even care that much about Iron Maiden. I like 5 of their songs, but they're good long songs, and therefore it takes up like at least half the movie and makes the whole thing better.
Wow,
it's incredible. Incredible. There's a scene where they're suiting up, getting ready to go out and battle them and put on some armor, and it's playing they're in the garage, right? And it's a stereotypical shot of the garage door opening and them crossing swords, and it's right at run to the hills as they're walking out. It's amazing. It makes the movie so much better. And I mean, it's already really great, but this shoots it into the stratosphere. If I rewatch it, I would only rewatch it with Iron Maiden playing as well.
Jesus.
From here on out, because it is how well it links up. And maybe at first it makes it a little bit slower in the beginning, but later on it pays off in dividends. So if you ask if I'm recommending this movie to anyone, I would say yes to all horror fans, especially to metal fans who also like horror. I love this movie. It's a new classic for me. It's, if you want to know what a Nick movie looks like, Deathgasm.
I agree with you 100%. It's something beautiful, and it's something to cherish, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I honestly think it stands at the top of the horror genre. Those other movies that we mentioned, I think it stands with them. That it is one that you should mention when you're talking about Night of the Demons and Evil Dead and Dead Alive. The fourth movie that you mentioned should be Deathgasm.
Yep, I would say that, yes, I would agree with that, definitely. And I think that it would be, right now, for me, I would say it's top of 2015.
I think the only other movie that I'd put, no, there's a few, but I would say it's probably number one or number two, depending on which one I feel like liking more, It Follows or Deathgasm.
I would put Deathgasm, because the reason I mean, it depends on your mood and what you consider entertaining too.
Yeah.
And I would say that if I'm going to rewatch a movie multiple fucking times, it's going to be Deathgasm. Only because I want to see the... people, seriously, you gotta see the horror in this and the gore. It's great. Don't be put off by the... And if some people may be put off by the metal part of it, oh, here we go with these assholes. Or it's really good.
No, I think it's relatable enough for anybody.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So yes, I would say it's definitely a rent right now. And when it comes available to buy, if you are into blind buying, I would blind buy this even without eyeballs.
That's a new horror classic.
There you go.
Honestly, and I would never... I don't say stuff like that lightly. I think that this is absolutely I wish every movie was like Deathgasm.
Yes. So get on that shit. Listener picks. What we did this week is we reached out to the listeners of the Jack and Nick Horror Show and asked them to come up with a few or a list of horror-themed songs that they love. Or it could be songs from horror movies, or it could be songs that remind them of horror movies, or just something that should be in a horror movie. And Nick, what are we going to do with these songs that we're going to mention?
Well, I'm actually going to make a playlist out of everybody's songs on Spotify, and it'll be a public collaborative playlist. So if you missed out, don't worry. Just go online and add whatever songs you want to it. And then just tweet to us at Jack and Nick Show and say, hey, I added this song to our collaborative playlist. Go look it up. The name of the playlist is Jack and Nick Horror Show. And the user who made it is New Jersey Nick, all one word. You can also see all of my other playlists if you must. But just look me up, New Jersey Nick. It's all one word. and then Jack and Nick Horror Show, and we can listen to this playlist together, get a sense of what everybody likes, and hey, it's all horror stuff that you may enjoy. So go for it.
Yeah, don't judge Nick's playlist when he mixes ABBA with...
No, I do have one that's like Disney Halloween songs, which I didn't even know I made for some reason.
So we're going to start with at Josh McMillan 88. He has sent us a DM, and he says, Nick, I love... Oh, no. He wrote, okay, for horror score, I really love the Halloween score. Of course, the Tubular Bells of The Exorcist, Friday the 13th.
Well, let's stop and let's talk about these a little.
Sure.
Wonderful.
I got some shit to say about them, but go ahead. I'll let you...
Well, Halloween, duh. Of course, Halloween
Right.
is the first one that we should mention if we're going to be talking about music from a horror movie.
Which was sort of an afterthought. Like, it was not an afterthought per se, but it's something that they said to John Carpenter, we need score, so he just, like, cobbled together that. That's what he cobbled together, and it sounds... It makes the film, you know? It's the score of Halloween really makes the film that much better. Granted, I mean, score in a lot of movies makes movies a lot better, but Halloween, I don't think would be as effective or actually work without the score. So,
I absolutely agree with you.
Tubular Bells. You want to know about that one? Because I read about this one in Friedkin's bio. You
read about it?
Yeah.
What's he got to say about it?
Well, I didn't write this down. So the original composer was it Lalo Schifrin? I believe that's how it's pronounced. He came up with a score for it. Friedkin called it a piece of shit and took it and threw it out in the street because he's a fucking douche. And replaced it with the Tubular Bells that he heard. That's it. He actually told him that it was a piece of shit and that it was the worst thing that he's ever heard.
Really? Amazing.
Yeah. And this is like a composer that is, you know, well-renowned. People love him, all that. You know, he's like Ennio Morricone. And, of course, Friedkin had a lot of problems throughout his career. His bio is definitely great. He reads it himself. But what do you think of Tubular Bells?
Tubular Bells is a wonderful song.
Right, it is.
I mean, like, that is one thing that always bothers me about modern horror movies. So few of them have a good, really memorable score. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the ones that do are probably going to be mentioned later on, but it's the stuff that's, sort of throwback synth that really becomes very memorable. Whereas, like, you don't get a lot of stuff that's either piano or, it's always generic piano and symphony stuff. Think about, like, all the major releases, and none of them have a score that feels as haunting as that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It sounds like a lot of it is just like underscore, where it's just a vibe. That's it, and that's as far as it goes. And there are composers that are around, and they do really good job, an effective job at creating tension and whatnot. But there's just that the hook is missing. It's almost like horror score these days. Even though I love Foo Fighters, is like the Foo Fighters, where it's like the Foo Fighters are a good band. I love Dave Grohl, but the one criticism they usually get is the hook that they're missing, the hook that gets the song as an earworm in your head, where you can't stop singing it over and over and over again. Maybe that happens for some people, but that's like, I mean, we'll probably hear about Nightmare on Elm Street score possibly, but I have like the soundtracks, and that just came on randomly the other day, and it was in my head for like 2 days straight. So the Friday 13th score from Manfredini is kind of, I really love the Friday 13th score because you just know it. You know, you know it when you hear it. But it's Harry Manfredini, and he is kind of almost a one-trick pony. Like, a lot of his scores are repetitive. See the Children, not the remake, the original of The Children. You'll hear score in that, and you'll be like, wait a minute, is this Friday the 13th? Like, it's that good. Like, they're the same exact stingers.
Now, Friday the 13th, wasn't that one of the songs that was actually a ripoff of Psycho's theme?
No, that was Reanimator.
No, I know the Reanimator is, but isn't also Friday the 13th pretty close?
Sort of, yeah. The doon doon doon, yeah.
Oh, by the way, we're not playing all these songs.
No,
because then this episode would be like 8 hours long.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that. If you want to hear these songs, listen to the playlist.
Right, play the playlist online while we're talking about
them. We're talking about them in order. Okay. So he said, let's see. This one is not really horror, but it is at the same time. But Gremlins. And yeah, Gremlins you remember. You know, the yeah. You know?
Right, it's a fun theme that tells you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it conveys the feeling that you're supposed to feel.
Right.
About, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Oh, and by the way, after we're done with the listener picks, Nick and I also have we picked 5. So we're going to give you our picks as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And go on. Sorry, man.
No, we get to pick extra because we came up with this idea.
Yeah.
Well, Josh picked like way more than us.
Josh picked a fucking 100. Fuck you, Josh. No, I'm kidding. I am trying to cut down on cursing, so I apologize to those that are offended. Fucking. And multiple others. Oh, and Suspiria. Suspiria, I fucking hated when I first heard it, and I love Goblin.
Really?
Yeah, when I first heard it, I was just like the yeah, and I was like, no. But then, Earworm, it got in my head, and I just couldn't stop. And now that I hear it, Nick, does it remind you of Christmas?
Absolutely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I guess because it sounds so much like that sort of music box.
Yeah.
That feels like... It feels like, I mean, it's weird to say that a song feels a certain way, but it makes me feel cold, like it's snowing inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's kind of a beautiful feeling for a song to evoke, a beautifully dark feeling.
And Dario Argento used the score. He had the score before the film was being shot and would blast it during the filming to get everybody unsettled, especially the actors. So, dude... There's a lot about Argento. Future episode, possibly. So, songs that I've loved that have a horror element that I love are the horrorcore duo Twisted. Is that right?
Yeah, Twisted.
Or
maybe it's just Twisted. But yeah, they're these guys. I think that they're sort of associated with like the Insane Clown Posse, like people like them and Twisted as well. Somebody at work was trying to explain it to me. And of course I like listen like I actually saw them play once back in like the early 2000s at Ozfest, and I didn't really care, but I think that they're kind of like that they do kind of like a rap rock industrial thing,
right? I have never heard him.
What songs does he recommend?
A bunch. He's got
2.
I'll run through the whole list. I got Ham Shabam, A Place in the Woods, Blood, ... All I Need, Nightmares with a Z, Monster Inside, Zombie. And this song, which is called These Are My Picks, but there are so many others.
Yes. I put in one Twisted song. If he wants to put more, he can. I can't search for all of them.
That's it. That almost sounds like...
I literally could, but I'm not going to do it right now.
It almost sounds like the I just got punched in the nose for sticking my face in other people's business. So, thank you, Josh. Jesus Christ.
Yes, thank you, as always, for participating, even if you chose 855 songs.
All right. After Josh, we have at Josh McMillan. 88. He said, I totally forgot one in the message, but it's more comedy than horror. Tongue firmly in cheek the Ghostbusters theme song, also known as I Want a New Drug from Huey Lewis and the News.
Before it got new lyrics without his permission, yeah.
Correct, yeah, because they had come to... Ivan Reitman went to Huey Lewis and said, we want you to write the Ghostbusters theme song. He said, that sounds fucking stupid. No. And then they hired Ray Parker Jr. to listen to I Want a New Drug over and over again. And the funny thing is, when I was younger, I loved... two cassettes that I had, and I had very few cassettes because I wasn't like a rich kid. Two of them was Huey Lewis and the News Sports and the Ghostbusters soundtrack. And I loved I Want a New Drug. And I loved the Ghostbusters theme song. And I never put two and two together until like VH1 behind the scenes years later. When they're talking about it, I'm like, oh my god, it's the same song. Wow. Goes to show you how much I was paying attention. But thank you very much, Josh. I was just kidding about the G. Yeah, that was quite a list, but that's really cool, man. We also got one from at Mandikoff. Beautiful Disaster. She writes, so many. Tops would be Screams of a Butterfly by Acid Bath. Talks about all kinds of messed up stuff, but a great song. Are you familiar with this?
Never heard of it, but I'm adding it to the list if I can find it.
I too have never heard of it, but that doesn't mean that it sucks, because our taste is better. No, I'm kidding. I'm just totally kidding.
Acid Bath is not on. Damn, I can't find it on. No, you lose. She loses.
Spotify. Well, I'm sure that they have also from Mandikoff. And by the way, I'm not slighting Acid Bath. I'm sure it's really good, and I will look it up and listen to it because I trust our listeners' judgment, because I'm sure they have good taste in both movies, music, and shows like our show. Hey, all right, Mr. Crinkle by Primus. You have to listen to it to get it. Pure insanity reminds me of inside of a killer's brain. Ha ha ha. True. Yes, I agree with you. Because Primus, their songs are, they kind of, they don't really blend together, but you know it's Primus when you hear it. Are you a Primus fan, Nick?
Primus is Primus. I'm not like a Primus fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I like songs from Primus.
Mr. Crinkle is a really good song. One of my favorite ones from them is Too Many Puppies. Such a great song. She also mentions Tourniquet by Marilyn Manson. Just a damn good song.
Sure it is. I enjoy it.
Yes,
I
I
love
agree.
Marilyn Manson, one of my all-time favorite artists, if you must know.
And any type of way too many songs, I will stop now. I'm not sure if any were in films. Yes, there was. Typo negative. Which one was it, Nick?
In the Night of the Demons remake, in my favorite scene in Night of the Demons remake, when two girls start making out and it plays Black Number One. I love it. Black Number One. I absolutely love it. What?
And the other typo negative opening song for a horror film is I Know What You Did Last Summer. The cover of Summer Breeze.
Summer Breeze.
And that sets the tone for that movie. Like, it's a great it's a great shot, like a helicopter shot over nighttime ocean. It's wonderful.
I've actually been listening to a typo like all day.
That's cool. So Y2 Stump writes
Stumpy.
He writes, love the use of Nights in White Satin from Halloween 2. Can't listen to the song without thinking about the movie. I completely agree with you, Stumpy. Once I saw that movie and saw the video playing and during the whole opening sequence, yeah, ever since then, when I hear it, before it was A Bronx Tale, I believe it, I think it was in A Bronx Tale, and I would always think of A Bronx Tale, but Halloween 2 outshined it. Nick?
Yes.
Good retort. Yes. Every time I'm going to be like, Nick, yes. That's all I want you to say if you agree.
No problem. I can handle that.
I'm sorry. At Holt 8 Chris, he writes, Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. Just makes me laugh, and I love the lyrics. Also reminiscent of Drunken Nights Out.
So, with that song, I actually never liked that song. I always found it kind of annoying until Kid Rock sampled the piano and made his song with it that was like, we were living by a lake and doing different things. I don't know the song, okay? If you heard it, you'd know it because it is exactly Werewolves of London's piano, right? And now, the reason that I like Werewolves of London now is because I'll hear that piano and I'll be like, is this that fucking Kid Rock song? Oh, no, okay. We're safe. It's the original.
I like Werewolves of London. I believe it was used in The Color of Money, the whole Tom Cruise thing. And I'm sure that's the reason why you don't like it. But, yeah, when I hear it, I it makes me smile. I like it. It's a fun song. It's one of those that kind of reminds me of like the American Pie type song, where it's like everybody knows it, so it could go either way. You either love it or hate it. Like one song that I despise is like Sweet Home Alabama. It's like that kind.
I have to mention that it's actually the day the music died, not apple pie or whatever. People will get mad at you.
Oh yeah, that's
People
right.
will.
Yeah, I know. They're huge John McClane fans.
We're cool people. We know.
Whatever, fuck that song. I'm not a fan of that one either. But I do like Werewolves of London, actually, so good job. Thank you very much, Chris, and Stumpy, and Mandikoff, and Josh! And Josh, who said, same with Mr. Sandman, to Y2 Stump. That one definitely reminds me of Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. But,
yeah.
Yes, so. At Brandon Darling, at Brandon_Darling, writes, Man Behind the Mask and Teenage Frankenstein by Alice Cooper. They're awesomely corny. Also, Feed My Frankenstein is solid. Brandon, check, and check.
Sorry, what was the third one?
Feed My Frankenstein.
And what was the first one?
Man Behind the Mask from Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Didn't we say 3?
Yeah, and Teenage Frankenstein.
There's 2 different Frankensteins.
There's 2, yeah. One of my favorite Alice Cooper songs that it's not on my list, but it should be, from an actual horror film, which was Monster Dog. You remember watching that one? Oh,
yes, I watched it last year.
Yeah, Personality Crisis, or Identity Crisis is the name of the song.
Maybe you should explain what Monster Dog is.
It's directed by the guy who made Troll 2, and it's a werewolf western music video rock film.
Starring
Alice Cooper.
That's right.
And I can love it, man. It's one of those movies that's just like, you watch it and you just keep watching it. It has very, very Italian feel, and it isn't, it just has that feel.
It has a wonderful campy, but serious tone when it shouldn't be serious, and
right.
If you like Troll 2, there's always Monster Dog. It's not anywhere near as bad as Troll 2, though.
Yes. So, at McBoss, and by the way, thank you, Brandon. Much appreciated. We have at McBoss, Mr. Sandman from Halloween 2. Also,
gotcha.
Just creeps the hell out of me. A lot of old 50s doo-wop and rock and roll has this effect on me. And
but used properly, it sounds like haunted music.
Yeah, and I fucking love it. I think it was used effectively in Night of the Creeps. Like the stroll and, what is it, something gets in your eyes. Damn it. Smoke gets in your eyes. And the way it was handled in the 50s era of that film was really well done. Christine.
I'm glad that nobody said Jeepers Creepers, because I'd just hand out uppercuts.
At McBoss also says, He says, think of the overly... Oh, sorry. This is continuing with the 50s doo-wop. Think it's the overly upbeat and happy, carefree nature of the songs placed in movies with really dark things happening. So it's the juxtaposition of... Yeah. That's one of my favorite things is something... It's almost like Cannibal Holocaust, you know, Nick? Like, Cannibal Holocaust, that song is so beautiful, it gives you chills. And then when you hear that beautiful song being played over the brutality that you're witnessing...
Right, well, I mean, like when I said that they're haunted songs, that's sort of what I mean. They're like abandoned amusement parks. Because they're this beautiful music that sounds so upbeat and cheery, but there's something... wrong with it in some way when they use it in a horror movie. You know, it feels like that sort of chilly, abandoned look over your shoulder. What was that?
Right,
because it's just too happy for what we're seeing happen on screen. It's just wrong, and I love it.
We have at Hair Everywhere.
A great name, a great Twitter handle.
I'll just use Kieran's first name, which is Kieran. He says, pretty much all Carpenter soundtracks. It Follows is great. Well, we'll start with the Carpenter soundtracks. Yes. Holy shit, yes. Actually, I should be uploading or sending over videos to the Jack and Nick show page. That I was at a horror convention in Maryland, and Alan Howarth played live concert and of the songs from the Carpenter films. He did Halloween 3 and Christine. He also did They Live, Prince of Darkness, Escape from New York. It was just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Also, Halloween 2 as well. It is absolutely excellent. But John Carpenter... Oh, by the way, I took video of this, so that's what I'm saying. I'm going to try to put some of that up, if it sounds good. But John Carpenter soundtracks, it's... I saw it on Precinct 13 all the way up to his most recent. When he does the composing, it's wonderful. The Fog, for instance, is great. Ennio did the Thing, which is a really good, haunting, low-key score that, you know, it's very subtle and simple, but it definitely works.
And he also put out earlier this year. He put out the Lost themes, music that he just had laying around, and it's all awesome, like great synth stuff that is throwbacks to movies that never happened.
And they have a remix album that just came out of that, but the son of a bitch is playing a concert in Iceland.
Right, with his son or something, right?
Yeah, hopefully that'll open up the doors for him to come over here. I'm sure it'll be like just California.
Yes, he'll play L.A. and New York and nowhere else.
It Follows is great, also from Kieran. That's a Disaster Piece. Nick, you want to talk about them?
I love Disaster Piece. Disaster Piece is not a them, it's a he. He makes great sort of synth and chiptune inspired music. A great fusion of what was and what could be. He did the score to the game Fez, but now more famously he did the score to It Follows, and it's wonderful. If you haven't seen It Follows, you're messing up. You're messing up. October just left. You had a perfect excuse to watch a good new modern horror movie. And a great new modern horror movie. So go watch It Follows and listen to the music as you do, because it is glorious if you like that sort of thing. And I totally am into like throwback synth stuff entirely. And it's very atmospheric, very surreal. I mean, the whole movie is. And the score matches it perfectly. It's funny when you listen to Disaster Piece on Spotify, because it bounces back and forth between really upbeat video game sounding stuff to It Follows.
So, yes, I agree. It's a cool soundtrack to listen to. And yeah, if you're not a fan of the movie and you forgot about it, just listen to the soundtrack and then you'll be like, "Oh my god, this is really good." So, I mean, that
Right
happens.
from the first scene
Yeah, right from the first scene, right?
with the song that's called "Heels."
That happened to me with was it Under the Skin? Like, I wasn't a fan of the film, but the soundtrack is really fucking good.
Oh yeah, it is.
So, and he also mentions Candyman, which, yeah.
Oh yeah,
The piano, it's so cool,
right.
man.
The score to Candyman was actually composed by Philip Glass, who does these really complex and crazy scores. If you look him up, there's this one song called Pruitt Ego or Igo. It's spelled weird. I don't even know how to spell it, but it was in this movie that I also don't know how to spell the name of, called Koyaanisqatsi, which was a weird documentary experimental movie from the late 70s, early 80s. And it was basically stuff that you would see on YouTube now. Like it focused on the complexity of nature versus the complexity of like technology as one long music video. I don't think he scored the whole thing, but he scored parts of it that are just so intricate but powerful music. And I think you should look him up. Also, if you wanted to see it set to something, look up the Grand Theft Auto 4 trailer, because that's also the same song I'm talking about, Pruitt Ego, or Igo. I don't know what it is. But anyway, the song is beautiful, and he wrote Candyman, and he was told that it was going to be like a suspenseful thriller. And he was upset when he saw that it was actually a horror movie. But as of, I think, either 2012 or 2013, he was asked about the Candyman score, and he was like, the movie must have been okay. I still get checks from it.
So that's a good thing.
I guess.
Something to be proud of.
And it is a wonderful,
it's a great
sort
score.
Of ethereal. It also has that music box quality. And I guess it is the music box quality, that sort of plucking of notes that sounds like it's from Music Box that makes me think of snow and Christmas time.
Agreed. And the way it's utilized in the movie is really cool, especially the opening credits, and it's really good. So we also got one from at Evil Episodes, Mike Merriman. He says, unfortunately, this little ditty is permanently implanted in my brain, and that would be Anything Can Happen on Halloween by Tim Curry. He posted a YouTube link to this song, which actually isn't one that sticks in my head. The one that sticks in my head from Tim Curry is I Do the Rock. But, Nick, you a fan?
Of Tim Curry?
Well, yeah, of Tim Curry. His music. His singing style.
His singing style? Well, I just watched Rocky Horror Picture Show the other day for the hell of it. So, maybe? I guess. It depends on what he's doing.
His voice is fucking great to me.
Oh, yeah. No, he's got a great voice. I just don't want to say yes to that question, because what if there's some crazy Tim Curry thing out there that I don't know about that I'm going to be agreeing to?
Oh, and then years later you'd be like, man, I said that.
Oh, Jesus, what?
And at Be All Love says, I am obsessed with Don't Fear the Reaper.
Okay.
And that would be, Don't Fear the Reaper being in Halloween.
Wasn't it in something else as well?
Saturday Night Live?
It's probably in like a million. That's stupid. What? Another horror movie that I'm trying to think of.
I have a very quick funny story about Don't Fear the Reaper. It's a song that, it's one of those songs that, to me, like, I always remember it being in Halloween, but it's one of those that's just playing on the radio that you kind of don't pay attention to, that gets embedded in your head because it is one of those songs. But years later, the song was in my head. I heard it on the radio, and I never knew the name of it. I just knew how it went. And I was humming it to my friends, who are huge music lovers, and they were just like, I'm not getting it, I'm not getting it. So this was a time when you had to record songs off the radio, and I would have a 2-hour tape on recording the radio,
Right.
And I would just record and record and record. I fell asleep, woke up, there was complete silence, and then Don't Fear the Reaper started on the radio right when I woke up. Mm-hmm. That was really weird because that's what I was waiting for, and there was silence before it began. And then, yeah, it was a cool
perfect cut.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was, and they played the whole song without any interruption. So,
you know, I felt like it was in something else, and I looked it up, and it's just listed for horror as being in the original Halloween and the 2007 remake. But a fun fact, according to Wikipedia, so maybe someone made it up and typed it in, Stephen King cited the song as the inspiration for the novel The Stand.
Yeah, I believe he did. I think it's actually in the novel. Like, he quotes the song in the novel itself, so...
You know what?
I could be wrong
movie
about
it's
that.
in? Wasn't it in that fucking Dark Shadows movie? Tim Burton's Dark Shadows.
I think you're right.
I think I'm right, but I don't like that movie.
I forgot about that movie.
I try not to think about it.
All right, Nick, what do you got from Facebook? Thank you to BL Love as well, and Kieran at Hair Fever. That's great.
So on Facebook, we have a couple of answers and a couple of recommendations for songs. Starting first, Tor Larson, the scores. Tor from the mighty Thundercloud. I think he's Australian.
Yes.
The scores to Halloween and Suspiria leap to mind as all-time best horror music, but my personal favorite is Rob's Maniac score from the remake. Rob is just the name of the dude. One name, Rob.
Which I would say would be the start of the resurgence of synth music in horror films.
Oh, I think it's that one impacted it like a meteor, right? That song just not the song, but that soundtrack, that score is brilliant, and it probably is responsible for the resurgence. That's what I meant by impacted like a meteor. If I sounded like an idiot when I said that, what I meant was yes, it had a big impact, and I loved it for it, and I loved it in the movie. I think it's a perfect fit for that movie.
Definitely agree, and yeah, definitely agree with Halloween and Suspiria. Goblin is great.
Tor adds, listening to the main theme from that score while you're out and about makes you feel like you're inside a horror movie. I will add, as a killer, he says, you almost expect to see opening credits roll down in front of your eyes. And Don't Fear the Reaper has a similar effect on him. He also added, though it's not horror-related music on its own, the use of Terry Reid's Seed of Memory in Devil's Rejects is one of the most perfect horror movie soundtrack selections of all time.
Wow. That is a very good one.
Mike Merriman, again. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say...
more to say on Seed of Memory.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, and what the hell is the song from Midnight Rider? Like, the way it's even used in it.
The opening credits to Devil's Rejects.
Dude... Rob Zombie knows how to make he knows how to make music videos. We're well aware of that. But yeah, man, the way he uses the songs he cuts and edits the scenes to the songs and all that. Oh, yeah, it's kind of MTV-ish, but it's Rob Zombie. So
no, sometimes I'll look up on YouTube just the opening sequence of Devil's Rejects with Midnight Rider playing. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely love that.
The guy was able to get...
Love Hurts?
No, that was a fucking misstep.
That was an enjoyable moment when I got to say that as if I...
Freebird.
Yes,
he
Freebird.
Makes Freebird enjoyable.
Oh, God.
He makes it enjoyable and makes you think, when you hear Freebird, you just see the end of Devil's Rejects. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, earlier... with the Halloween 2, with the Knights in White Satin, he does that. He has that ability.
Right.
Just like Scorsese.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
He probably has the right necessary connections to be able to get the music.
Right. But I was going to say, like, Tarantino or Scorsese do the same thing, where you hear those songs and you're like, that movie. Mm-hmm. That movie. It's like songs that you know and love, but when they're utilized in those films, it's like, oh, that's all I'm going to ever think about now. Which kind of sucks for people that have memories of those songs and, like, a time in their life. But I don't know. I think it's really cool that somebody can, dig up an old song and make it cool again. So.
Yep. At any rate, Mike Merriman, I really like Black Number One by Typo Negative. Thank you.
Yeah.
As we already said, I also like it. May I also add that if you're ever going to listen to that song and the one I'm going to add to this soundtrack that we're making here, the long one, the 11-minute long version of the song is the one you listen to. Okay.
All right. Not
the radio edit. You don't pussy out.
You only do the radio edit for Disturbed's the sickness. The radio edit's better than the actual song, which was in a horror film. Because in the long version, he goes, "Don't do it, mommy. Oh, here you go. You're gonna die. Oh no, mommy."
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's so stupid.
I've seen Disturbed play live like maybe 14 or 15 times because of all the festivals and rock concerts I've been to.
Right.
And Disturbed shows too. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I could probably never hear Down with the Sickness again and be perfectly happy with my life. And I like Disturbed, and I'm saying that. I just don't want to hear. You ever get that way with bands that you've heard a lot? Like, you don't want to hear their singles anymore?
Uh-huh. Oh, and they don't want to hear them either.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They're stuck with them.
At any rate, Angie Lane Makes says, everything. Every single rap song at the end of a slasher movie. I'm partial to Nightmare on Elm Street ones.
Was that Fat Boys and Are You Ready for Freddy? Which was the tipping point of Freddy being a complete joke. And Houdini's Any Way You Gotta Swing It from Friday 13th, or I'm sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Child. Do you remember that song?
Let's not forget MC Hammer's Addams Family Rocks.
Well, the entire soundtrack to Dream Child was almost all rap.
Right.
And it was not even used in the film. Oh, God.
See, now, that can be done, but it's more difficult. Like, if you're going to do that, you have to pick, like, sort of a slow beat in the background. It can't just be, like, regular, like, hip-hop, radio hip-hop.
It can't be Cool Mo D and Houdini with, like, anyway, I'm gonna swing it, anyway, I'm gonna swing it. You can't do that in a horror film, because it's not going to be scary. It's like, let's turn this into a rap video. And it was, Houdini, in the video itself, they're, like, dancing in front of the Nightmare house. And it's like, guys, no, this is not. And I mean, Fat Boys is, it's enjoyable in a cheesy sense. Mm-hmm. With Freddy rapping and all that. But that's where it's like, nope, it's crossed that plateau. Don't get me wrong, I still love the series, and I'm fully aware of how terrible it became. But
like, that is one. But I mean, even aside from Nightmare on Elm Street, that is one thing that we should investigate: is why did every movie between 1987 to 1992 end with a rap song about what we just saw happen on screen? Why? Go Ninja, go Ninja, go! Why? Like, explain this to me. Like, it is one of the weirdest, like, trends in filmmaking that showed up. Everybody was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then it went away.
Yeah.
Like,
it was the worst part of the early 90s.
Yeah.
It really was. Like, the late 80s, early 90s, that's where the hip-hop rap, which I was a fan of, don't get me wrong, I still am, but when you intertwine it with horror, it really doesn't work. If you want to intertwine some sort of rap, it would be like, Buckethead's, like the Shape versus Buckethead kind of thing, or something like that, where it's not necessarily rap, but it's like rap rock, but it sounds terrifying, that kind of stuff. So, All right, what else you got, Nick?
I'm sorry. I lost my place. That's why I'm saying I'm sorry. John Carpenter's score from Prince of Darkness,
which is great.
The Blasters, Dark Knight from Dusk Till Dawn.
Well, I'm not really a huge fan of that one. That one sounds too Robert Rodriguez to me. That's the one that Dark Night. It's a dark night.
I can't remember enough of Dust Till Dawn to remember the music from it.
Which was supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt movie.
And it looks like one.
I really enjoy it.
I'm not a huge fan. But you know why I'm not a huge fan? I should explain to new listeners. I like my vampires to look like humans, not like monsters. That's kind of a problem. But whatever. We'll talk about that some other episode.
Yes.
Other spooky songs I can't get enough of that aren't. This is still Angie Lane makes. Oh man, Lordy, Blood Red Sandman, and Would You Love a Monster Man? Now Lordy is this band. They're European. I forget where they come from, Sweden or Norway, and they dress up like monsters on stage, sort of like if Kiss was from hell.
They come from Lordway. No, sorry.
Lord. They're wonderful, and they even appear. Well, actually, that's her next sentence. Also, their music videos are amazing tributes to horror. Plus, the band was in a horror movie as their Gwar-esque characters. That movie I've actually seen, and I forget the name of because I'm an idiot. But it was just sort of like hilariously weird. Like there were these ghosts like that were leading a child to safety. Very weird. You can't go wrong with Lordy. Gotta enjoy them.
They have that movie, what's it called? Dark Floors.
Dark Floors, yes, because they're leading someone out of a building or something. I don't know.
They're killing people in a hospital of some sort or something. I didn't watch it. I gave up. It was one of those what is it, Ghost House movies.
Yeah, but I can't remember it. I mean, I watched it. It was about a year or two ago. It wasn't that great. But Lordy was in it. Can't go wrong with Lordy, okay? Bring him back to Paul Spock. Oh, you really can't go wrong with them. I recommend them in low doses.
Right.
but something worth knowing is Lordy. So go look him up. Next up, Duran Duran, The Chauffeur. Now, I have no idea what that is, Jack.
I don't. No, I know Duran Duran's other songs. I know they're more popular songs, but not The Chauffeur. It's not.
I'll add it to our playlist no matter what, because we love you. Okay. Next, Ken Luther, Metal Prof. Or Metal Prof. Or something. Well,
Proof.
That's who he normally is. Like Nick, I could sit here all day listing heavy metal songs that fit the bill. So I'll go another direction with two. Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. Everyone knows this one, even if they think they don't know it. And two, some parts of the soundtrack to The Keep by Tangerine Dream.
Tangerine Dream, yeah.
In particular, the tune in at track 3 for some, excuse me, very synth-heavy parts that give me the same vibe as synth-heavy horror sounds of the 80s.
Yeah. And, you know, The Keep is one of those films that I wish I could see the long version of it, because the short version to me is... It's boring, and it's not good, and it's edited very wonkily. And people love it. Wonkily. That's going to be a new word.
Oh, you didn't mean like Wonka related.
No. You know how people say wonky, it's wonkily. I don't know, I just came up with it.
Or to The Keep. Not on Spotify. You lose.
Just
Sorry.
Tangerine Dream. The other movie that they did the score to is Friedkin's movie, Sorcerer. They did and Risky Business. They did some of the score of that.
They did a score for didn't they do? Yeah, they did it for Dark Crystal, the weird Muppet movie. But I think that wasn't their music not in the movie, and you have to get like another separate one.
Get another separate one. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Near Dark. They did Near Dark.
Yes, which is a really good score too. Tangerine
Dream, a weird band.
Still around, which is good.
Right, they must be 80 years old.
What else you got, Nick?
Oh yeah, so David Shea says, this is the only one that comes to mind that's specific for a movie. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, A Nightmare on My Street.
Yeah. That was the actual moment that it became a thing. They actually, I believe, got sued by New Line for that.
That sounds right. Something I've heard before.
Yeah, because they just said, "Oh, fuck it, we can do this." And no, you can't, Vanilla Ice. You can't. But it's still on the album, I believe. It's still on the album. But the He's the DJ of the Rapper CD, if you had the cassette tape, you had the long version of the song He's the DJ I'm the Rapper. But on CD, they couldn't fit the whole album on it because of time, so that song kind of suffered a heavy edit. Little known fact. There you go.
Next up is some music I've never heard of. I don't even know how to say it, but it's from Kieran Fisher. Mm-hmm. I think this guy should score some horror movies. Gesaffelstein.
Yes, he should. He should. I have some of Gesaffelstein's albums, and I should say EPs, because he puts out like 2 or 3 or 4 tracks on an album. And Nick, it kind of, you remember the heavy like thumping bass synth songs from The Guests?
Yeah,
just like that.
Oh, sort of like Laserhawk or Perturbator,
something like that. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Really good stuff. So I agree.
If you like heavy synth weirdness,
I agree, young man.
So, Jack.
Yes.
Our turns.
Our turns.
Would you like me to give my 5 songs first, or would you like to go first?
I'd like you to go first.
Okay. I would have picked Black Number 1 as my top pick, but I saw everybody else pick it, and I was like, oh, good, I get another pick. So I'm tried to go with an eclectic mix here and not just all horror, not all horror metal stuff, okay?
Okay.
So the first one is actually Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones, which plays here and there throughout horror. It plays at the end of Devil's Advocates. Obviously a weird little twist ending there that makes like no sense.
Plays throughout Stir of Echoes, too.
I was going to say, in Stir of Echoes, specifically when the young girl gets raped. Oh. Oops. And, yeah. But that one in that movie is actually not the Rolling Stones version. It's by this other band, I think, called G.O.B., who they must have just been the cheaper version. Good movie. I enjoy it. Next up, one of my favorite bands is Monster Magnet. They're this sludge metal rock, sort of hard rock band. They sung the song Space Lord, which was very popular at the end of the 90s. But I actually love like everything that they've done except for some of their more recent stuff. And in 2000 or 2001, there was this terrible movie called Dracula 2000, where Dracula gets woken up in America. I think it's actually in Louisiana, New Orleans, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like walking around there. It played by, who was he played by in that movie? Gerard Butler, maybe? I think so. I think he was. And
yes.
He's like taking in sort of the decadence of the turn of the century New Orleans, and playing up on this big video wall is Monster Magnet's video for Heads Explode. Mm-hmm. And he just looks up and he's like, magnificent. And I was like, yes, I love Monster Magnet. So that one scene from that terrible movie made me put that song into our list. It's a very cool song. Not their coolest song. I mean, if I was going to pick their coolest song, I would have picked something else. Not even their most horror-esque song, which would be The Game, which is not like published anywhere. They gave it away for free on their website years ago. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can probably find it on YouTube. It's not on Spotify to my knowledge, but it's a very weird song about just being alone and being in the dark, but you can hear things move. Very wonderful. The title to It Follows by Disaster Piece was a pick of mine, which I've already kind of talked about, so I'm not going to talk about it more. Mm-hmm. How about this one from the Ramones, Pet Sematary.
Weird. I was just singing that the other day too.
I love it. It's a good dumb song that I kind of feel like they didn't want to be singing at all, but it's wonderful. I would also recommend the Rammstein cover of it if you ever go and hear that. It's completely terrible, but It's wonderful. And there's even video of it from this show in 2000 or 2001 at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. Somebody videotaped it. I was actually at this show. And like they played it live with Jerry Only from the Misfits and one of the Ramones, I think Marky Ramone, who was in the Misfits at the time, or Tommy Ramone. I don't know. Everybody was named Ramone, but they're not actually related.
Are there like 20 Ramones?
Yeah. So one of the Ramones and the one who's still alive, and actually the best version of Pet Sematary is by Marky Ramone. It's a really like a much more energetic and rocking version. So go look that up. But I put in the Ramones version for the sake of our playlist here.
And Pet Sematary in the film itself at the end credits, it's like Pet Sematary is such a depressing movie. It's a great horror movie, I think. But by the time it's over, man, you're like just kicked in the balls, and then Pet Sematary plays, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah.
No, it's that bad. They killed children.
Yeah.
Several. Anyway. Actually, only like one. But
and the cat.
Oh, and if you watch the music video for it, I like it just because the Ramones look like they want no part of it. They're too cool.
Like they're I Want to Be Sedated.
Sort of, yes.
Speaking of the Ramones, real quick, I have a great cover of the Ramones Howling at the Moon by the 5, 6, 7, 8s. I would suggest seeking that one out.
Really?
It's better than the Ramones song. They actually make it sounds like a lost 50s treasure.
So,
yes.
Moving along, my fifth pick is actually from the score to Reanimator, the main theme.
Psycho.
It's wonderful. Yeah, because it's actually a ripoff of Psycho's main theme. I guess because back then people didn't notice copyright infringement so much. But the main theme, and you can watch videos comparing. In fact, there's videos comparing Psycho's theme to Reanimator's theme to Friday the 13th theme, showing how they all rip from Psycho. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome because it's this like 80s kind of rocking version of the Psycho theme. Like, I think it's just that drum beat that's like in the background that totally makes it a fun song in a way that's like, this song shouldn't be so fun. It's Psycho. You know?
Yeah.
So I enjoy that.
Is that your 5?
That was it 5? Rolling Stones, Monster Magnus, Disaster Piece, Ramones, and Reanimator. Yes, 5.
All right. Here comes my 5. I have John Harrison, Father's Day from Creepshow. That is actually on Spotify. It's the 7-minute version. And this is from the Father's Day segment from Creepshow. If you're not familiar with it, if you have seen the movie Grindhouse, it's in the Thanksgiving trailer. The parts and bits and pieces of Father's Day is in the Thanksgiving trailer. Very, very cool, haunting, and fun, too. It also has like this weird piano thing with the overlaying sound. It sounds like you're in a saloon in the West back in the, and it's like just you'll understand when you hear it. It's so good, and I just every time I hear it, I can listen to it on repeat. It's something that I will never ever get tired of. Another song and from another movie I have Hold Tight from Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch from Death Proof.
Ah, yeah, that's wonderful.
That's the song during the massive collision, I'll say.
And who sings it?
Dave D, Dozy, Beaky, Mick, and Titch.
Yep, that's a great scene. That's a wonderful scene. Yes. You know, I probably should have thought of Grindhouse because I love some of Robert Rodriguez's band. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Shagun? It's like Chigon. Look it up.
Will do.
And I mean, it plays in the trailer, and in fact, like the whole score of Planet Terror. Like if you know, like Cherry's Dance of Death is when she's like going around blasting everybody with her rocket launcher leg. Mm-hmm. That is the Robert Rodriguez stuff I'm talking about
I
probably should have thrown in.
I love that soundtrack so much. Okay, so this one's going to be hard to pronounce, but I'm going to give it my best. I have Pravda Vitazi from Tublatinka. That is the song from Hostel that I've used on Slashercast that we were both a part of from time to time, especially during our extreme shows. Nick, you are familiar with this one. This is the one that's the 80s heavy metal song that has the scream that that's the song from Hostel. Mm-hmm. You see Hostel when they're all dancing in the club with the girls and it's all going crazy and all that. It's a great song. It's spelled Pravda Vitazi, and the name of the band is Tublatanka. I would recommend checking that song out because it's one of those songs that is so freaking cool. It's very 80s metal, and it's very cool. Another one, Tenebrae from Goblin.
Oh yeah, obviously
that whole fucking soundtrack.
Yeah, that's an A+. I love it.
It's and it was used by the duo Justice for their song Phantom. Such a great song, but Goblin's original Tenebrae definitely has very pipe organy, and it's another very 80s song. But all right,
if you listen actually to any of the videos on my channel, on my YouTube channel, the horror retro gaming, my intro when I do a horror retro gaming video is actually a ripoff of the Tenebrae theme, which I had promised to reveal if someone would guess it, and no one ever guessed it. So I revealed it here today.
That's a shame.
You're welcome, Corpse Head. I think you asked.
The crazy thing is, whenever I hear the song Tenebrae, I go right back to the movie Tenebrae at the very opening where they're throwing the pages of the book, with the gloved hand is throwing the pages of the book into the fire. So, my final one is from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It is No One Lives Forever by Oingo Boingo. And Oingo Boingo re-recorded the song for the movie. Like they did the movie soundtrack's own version of it. There are 3 versions of it. There is the Boingo version. There's the Boingo Alive version, which was them playing songs straight through with no changing this and that. It's just live in studio without an audience. And then there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 soundtrack, which the whole soundtrack I really enjoy, but that song is one of my all-time favorite Oingo Boingo songs, and it just reminds me of Halloween in general. That's the song that's the opening sequence where the chainsaw goes through the head and Grandpa's in the back of not Grandpa. Grandpa's dead. What's his name? Hitchhiker from
Chop
Texas.
Top.
No. Chop Top is the brother, I believe, of the Hitchhiker. The Hitchhiker is the guy from the beginning. They use his corpse in the back of the truck. It's that whole scene. Excellent song, and it captures the moment of 1988. I mean, Texas Chainsaw 2, I really enjoy, and I know De Laurentiis and them were not happy with the final product because they were expecting a horror film. And what they got was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which Tobe Hooper, I believe, is very proud of. And
Of course he is. What else does he have to be proud of? He's got Texas Chainsaw 1, Texas Chainsaw 2, possibly Poltergeist.
He's got Life Force, which I think is good. Eaten Alive, which I think is good, but he got kind of kicked off of that one. He gets kicked out of a lot of films. Oh, Funhouse. Funhouse is a great Tobe Hooper movie.
Oh, right.
He is proud of that one, too. So, but yeah, that's my list. So, that will end our listener picks. Thank you very much, people, for reaching out to us. And,
right. Again, it's on Spotify.
It's going to be on Spotify.
Nick Horror Show. Just type in Jack and Nick Horror Show on Spotify, and the playlist will come up. Otherwise, look for me, New Jersey Nick, the user. It's a collaborative playlist. So if you didn't hear your favorite song in here, go and just add it to the playlist. If we have to be friends in order for you to do it, send me a friend request. And we'll throw it in. So far, 40 songs, 2 hours and 59 minutes in our joined playlist. So now you can go and sit there and listen to horror music for like half your work day.
And you can play it for your after Halloween party.
By next Halloween, we could have hundreds of songs in this.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it again for next Halloween.
Welcome to the end of the show. I hope you like the playlist. Find us on Twitter, at Jack and Nick Show. Find us on Facebook, Jack and Nick Horror Show. On Twitter, I'm at New Jersey Nick. My gaming channel on YouTube is New Jersey Nick. Just look me up.
I'm at JacobK666. And yeah, please definitely go to iTunes and give us some ratings.
Oh, yeah. We've had some good ones and some not good ones already, so whatever. Subscribe, like, and share wherever you find us, though.
Yes. Some people are expecting one thing and they think they're getting the same thing, but they get they'll get segments like, and there's going to be a lot more changes to the show as we progress. So stick with us if you're feeling that there are repetitive episodes. It's not going to be that, people.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to the show. Thank you for listening to Nick and myself, and hope to hear from you soon. Definitely go to Facebook, too, and talk to us on there. We definitely will respond to you. So, all right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye, Nick.
Hi, Jack.
I'll see you, Nick, in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll talk to you. I won't see you.
Are you still recording?
Yes.
No.